Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's class from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, Chapter 5, Texts 29 and 30. We're fortunate to have this morning His Grace Vishnugada Prabhu from ISKCON, Philadelphia, to give the class. Hare Krishna, Prabhu, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you. Okay, great. Thanks so much. And if devotees would like to, they can unmute. So there's a call and response here. Srila Prabhupada chanted this prayer before speaking on Chaitanya Charitamrita many times. So we'd also do that. Param Karuna Pahu Dvijan Nitai Gaurachandra
Parama Karuna Paudvijana Nitai Gaurachandra. Please join.
Yeah, if they can. Some people might be traveling or at work.
Yeah.
Param Karuna Pahu Dvijan Nitai Gaurachandra
Parama Karuna Paudvijana Nitai Gaurachandra.
Shababata Shar Shiramani Kebala Ananda Kanda
Shabhavata Shashirumani Kevala Ananda Kanda.
Bhaja Bhaja Bhai Chaitanya Nitai Sudridha Vishasha Kari
Bhajo Bhai Chaitanya Nitai Sudrida Vishwasakuri
Vishaya Chariya Serashe Majia Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari
Vishaya Chadiya Sirase Majiya Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari.
Dekha Ore Bhai Tribhuvane Nai Emona Doyala Data
Dekho Ore Bhai Tribhuvane Nai Emona Doyala Data.
Pashu Paki Jhure Pashana Bidare Shuni Jar Guragata
Pashu Paki Jure Pasana Vidare Shuni Janra Gunagata.
Sangsare Majia Rohili Podia Shepade Nohilo Asha
Samsare Matia Ruhili Poria Separena Hilo Asha.
Apana Karama Bhunjaye Shamana Kahaye Lochandasa
Apana Karama Bunjai Shamana kaho ye lochana dasa.
Parama Karuna Pahu Dvijana Nitai Gaurachandra.
Parama karuna pahudui jana. Nitai Gora Chanda.
Parama Karuna Pahu Dvijana Nitai Gaurachandra.
Parama Karuna Pahudui Jana. Nitai Gora Chanda.
Prabhavatar Shar Shiramani Kebala Ananda Kanda.
Shabhavatara Sashirmani. Kevala Ananda Kanda.
Shabhavatar Shar Shiramani Kebala Ananda Kanda.
Shabhavata Shashirmani Kevala Ananda Kanda.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paribrajaka Ashtotara Satashi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Yay,
Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai.
yay,
ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
yay,
Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai.
yay,
प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय।
yay,
श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय।
yay,
नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय।
yay,
गंगा माई की जय।
yay,
जमुना माई की जय।
yay,
तुलसी देवी की जय।
yay,
भक्ति देवी की जय।
yay,
शंभवेता भक्त वृंद की जय।
yay,
गौर प्रेम आनंदे।
yay.
All glories to the
Hari Hari
assembled
Bo,
devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna,
All glories to the assembled
Hare
devotees.
Krishna,
All glory to Sri Sri Guru and Sri
Hare
Gauranga
Krishna,
Hari Hari Bo. Nama Om
Namo
Vishnupadaya
Krishna.
Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirbhishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
We're studying, and discussing Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, Chapter 5, The Glories of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, text number 29. I see that Sarvanga Shundar Damodar Prabhu is there. Maybe he can, I don't know if he can do the Bengali or if he's.
It is not Bengali.
Tuki.
What's that? No?
I think he's not Bengali.
Okay. Anybody else?
Hi,
Bengali?
Krishna
Bengali?
Bhagavan. I'm
What's
not
that?
Bengali. Sometimes I can chant, but I am not getting the tune right now. Hare Krishna.
Okay. All right. यद्यपि केवल तार क्रीडा मात्र धर्म तथापि जीवेर कृपाय करे एक कर्म. Translation. Although his pastimes are his only characteristic functions, by his causeless mercy, he performs one activity for the fallen souls.
Can I try this one, Prabhu?
Certainly, of course.
शालोक्य सामीप्य षष्ठी सारूप्य प्रकार चारी मुक्ति दिया करे जीवेर निस्तार. हरे कृष्ण.
Do it again.
शालोक्य सामीप्य सारष्टि स्वरूप्य प्रकार चारी मुक्ति दिया करे जीवेर निस्तार. सालोक्य सामीप्य सारष्टि सारूप्य प्रकार चारी मुक्ति दिया करे जीवेर निस्तार. हरे कृष्ण.
Nice. Salokya samipya shashti sarupya prakar chari mukti diya kore jivera nishtar. Others?
Salokya samipya shasti sarupya pakara charimukti diya kari jivara nishtara. Hare Krishna.
Nice. Anyone else like to chant this verse? Yes.
सालोक्य सामीप्य षष्ठी सारूप्य प्रकार चारी मुक्ति दिया करे जीवेरा निष्ठार. हरे कृष्ण प्रभु.
Thank you, Prabhu. Salokya. The liberation called Salokya. Samipya. The liberation called Samipya. Shashti. The liberation called Shashti. Sarupya. The liberation called Sarupya. Prakar, varieties. Chari, for. Mukti, liberation. Diya, giving. Kore, does. Jiver, of the fallen souls. Nishtar, deliverance. Translation. He delivers the fallen living entities by offering them the four kinds of liberation: Salokya, Samipya, Shashti, and Sarupya. Purport. There are two kinds of liberated souls. Those who are liberated by the favor of the Lord, and those who are liberated by their own effort. One who gets liberation by his own effort is called an impersonalist, and he merges into the glaring effulgence of the Lord, the Brahmajyoti. But devotees of the Lord who qualify themselves for liberation by devotional service are offered four kinds of liberation, namely Salokya, status equal to that of the Lord; Samipya, constant association with the Lord; Shashti, opulence equal to that of the Lord; and Sarupya, features like those of the Lord. Om Agyanatimirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Shayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Shah Pandantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktabinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Before speaking, I'd like to ask the permissions and blessings of all devotees present and not present, and particularly those who are senior by age and or advancement in Krishna consciousness.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you very much. So this Chaitanya Charitamrita, thank you all for joining today. And the Chaitanya Charitamrita speaks on high levels of Krishna consciousness. Bhagavad Gita, spoken by Lord Krishna to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, is giving the philosophy of Krishna consciousness in a nutshell. Then Srimad Bhagavatam expands on those points, and Chaitanya Charitamrita goes even further. Therefore, it's sometimes called the postgraduate study of Krishna consciousness and religion. And here we have Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is describing these four kinds of liberation: Salokya, Samipya, Shashti, and Sarupya. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada comments of Salokya, he comments it as status equal to that of the Lord, which is interesting because we otherwise sometimes hear of Salokya. Did anybody else hear any other definition of Salokya?
Living at the same place as the Lord.
Yeah, on the same planet
Loka.
as the Lord, right? Loka, there's
Yeah.
Goloka, Vaikuntha Loka, etc. So sometimes, so those planets are also, at least if you take this translation here, it's something like a status. Those different planets have different statuses. We know in Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma says, Goloka namni nijadamni tale chatasya devi mahesha haridama suteshu teshu utete prabhava nichaya vihatascha jena govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So there are many planets. There's the planets within the Devi Dham, or this material world. So many planets, many, many planets. And beyond that, there's Haridam, Vaikuntha Lokas. There are many, many planets there as well. And Krishna has his own planet. Krishna, Goloka Namni. That's called Goloka, Goloka Vrindavan. So many statuses. So someone can have a status equal to the Lord, the Salokya, or the same planet as the Lord. Samipya. Samipya is a constant association with the Lord. Now, if you think about it, if you're in constant association with the Lord, wouldn't you also be on the same planet as the Lord? So you could take it that Samipya is included, or Samipya and Salokya might go together. You follow? That's not a
Yeah.
rhetorical. So anyone have a comment about that?
Well, the way you explained it, if you're in constant association, then you have to be where he is. But can it be the fact that since Krishna is also absolute, that if you're on a different planet, but you remember him by name, you're still associating with him anyway?
Could be. Could be. Could be. Other thoughts? I'm just trying to differentiate them. You would think if you're a constant associate, that you would always be on the. Of course, that would mean that Krishna or that a particular expansion of Krishna Narayana expansion stays on the same planet. Do you follow? So
Yeah.
if like Arjuna was on a constant associate of the Lord, although he travels with the Lord from planet to planet, so he doesn't, or from universe to universe, we'll say, and within the universe, those planets. So his being Samipya doesn't, he's not there only on one planet. So there could be a distinction. You follow?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then Shashti, equal opulence of the Lord, and Sarupya, features like those of the Lord. So these Sarupya, do we know anybody who has, do you have familiar with anybody who's got the Sarupya Siddhi?
Uddhava.
Yeah, Uddhava, when he came to from Mathura to Dwarka to Vrindavan, the residents of Vrindavan were surprised because he looked practically almost exactly like Krishna, and they were the gopis even became a little shy because of the resemblance. He had that siddhi feature of sarupya, there's others also, you might remember, when the Vishnudutas came to the bedside of a Jamil. They were four-handed, just like Lord Narayan. And they discussed with the Jamadutas, but they had the appearance just like Narayan, even though they were not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They were his servants, his dutas, ordinary jiva souls, although they were liberated from material contamination. There's different examples of these types of, uh, they're called different kinds of liberation, or sometimes different kinds of mukti, or sometimes it's called different kinds of siddhis. Siddhis. And an interesting point in this shloka and the purport is that Krishna, even though he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he it doesn't look like he has any envy, because he's allowing many living entities to have the same form as he has, the same opulence as he has, the same residence as he has. You see, he's very, very, very liberal in that way. It's quite interesting. So these kinds of liberation are there, described in the Shastras, and sometimes, as I mentioned, they're called siddhis, and sometimes they're called types of mukti. We know in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says to Arjuna that Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatiti siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tatvata. You know that verse? That he's explaining to Arjuna that out of many thousands, sahasreshu, thousands of people, only one person is interested yatiti siddhaye means interested in becoming perfect or liberated. Siddhaye. Yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam viti. And of all those people who have actually achieved perfection or achieved liberation, hardly one knows Krishna. So that's, if you do the math, that's 1 in a million might know Krishna, maybe. Maybe one knows Krishna in truth. So it's a very rare thing. So in that verse also, there's a distinction. The name of that's described siddhi. A person might be called a siddhi, but even their siddhi, they don't know Krishna. Out of thousands of people who have achieved perfection, they don't know Krishna. So siddhi or creep can be used in different ways in the Sanskrit word siddhi, and in this purport, it's being used or this kind of liberation is being used also for an impersonalist. Srila Prabhupada says there's two kinds of liberated souls: those who are liberated by the favor of the Lord and those who are liberated by their own effort. One who gets liberation by his own effort is called an impersonalist. Yeah. So when I was just reading this verse, I was considering oftentimes when Srila Prabhupada talks about different types of liberation or different types of devotees, if he says there's two kinds, sometimes he says, I don't know if you've heard this, there's a Kripa Siddha and a Sadhan Siddha. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah.
Kripa Siddha means someone, a devotee who's, reaches perfection, Siddha, by mercy, just calls this mercy of Krishna or his devotee. And Sadhan Siddha means someone who's achieved perfection by practicing rigidly the principles of sadhan bhakti, rising early, following the four regulative principles, attending arti, chanting 16 rounds, offering all their food, engaging in Krishna service all the time. So sadhan siddha, kripa siddha. But interestingly, in this purport, Srila Prabhupada puts the kripa siddhas and the sadhan siddhas together. You follow?
Yeah.
You follow? Yeah. So he groups those who are liberated by the favor of the Lord with those who are liberated by their own effort. So what do you make of that?
I think the devotees have both.
Could you
Because
explain
it's
further?
by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, we get to practice. The practice is by instruction, but it's also by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya that we chant Hare Krishna to get the love of Godhead eventually. So we're getting both instruction and the mercy of Lord Chaitanya.
Kripa is the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, and instruction means like you're following the sadhan process
Sadhana,
given
yeah.
by. Okay, all right. Yes. Anyone else have a comment on that point?
Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances, August Sri
Yes.
Prabhupada. Prabhu, I'm thinking that I'm thinking just for myself, my little 2P brain, that I think both are needed. You know, I'm thinking about this 2-inch rope that is short. You know, when Mother Yashoda tries to tie Damodar, and it's always 2-inch, and it's always, you know, the mercy and the effort, the endeavor. So I'm thinking that both are needed and both are important, you know, to practice devotional service, the Vaidhi Bhakti, the Sadhana Bhakti, and the more we grow in that, the more we get the mercy or the blessing to really understand the depth of bhakti. That's what's coming to me. I don't know if that makes sense.
Okay. Well, anybody else have a view on this? Thank you. How about dear Krishna Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble. All Krishna Prabhu. Sorry, I was in a meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, in addition to whatever Prabhuji and Mataji said, I think Kripa Siddha, like all the devotees or all the associates of Shri Krishna, they are totally Kripa Siddha. So, and they appear with him whenever Krishna himself appears. So,
Okay.
and sadhana said when we perform Vedi Bhakti, and slowly we advance and uplift ourselves to the Raganuga. We cannot become, I'm not sure how to explain that word. I'm forgetting that word right now, but we all are in this conditioned material world, sadhana siddh, as we advance.
Okay. Thank you. I see Sarvanga has his Sundar Damodar has his hand up also. Yes.
Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada. Is it like the same way, like, you know, they say that the wood also has fire in it, but it's the fire from the realized soul, like Guru and Gauranga, that lights the wood, and then, like, you know, uh, there is light. Is it the same thing?
Yes. All those statements are good statements. I'm thinking, you know, sometimes there's a differentiation given between Kripa Siddha and Sadhan Siddha. And as Parikshit Prabhu pointed out, you know, they're both, and Mother Anasuya also, both required. And how that is? Well, sometimes Kripa Siddha just by the Kripa, without maybe rigorous practice of spiritual life, sadhan, someone becomes very elevated. And for the sadhan siddhas, people who practice regularly sadhan, they're practicing that sadhan, but it's not just by the practice of the sadhan that they are liberated, but the sadhan is practiced to the point and to continually in order to get the mercy of the Lord. Do you follow?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the point being that the sadhan siddha is also a kripa siddha, which is some of you are making that point, because it's not just even somebody can't become an associate of the Lord, but just by practicing sadhan alone, they have to get the mercy of the Lord. That was Gopinath Acharya, his response to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya when they were discussing about the divinity of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first came to Puri. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and his disciples, his students, were arguing that there is no incarnation in the age of Kali. And they quoted some scripture for that. Whereas Gopinath Acharya quoted other scripture where he counteracted their arguments and clearly said and gave evidence of the appearance of Lord Chaitanya in the Kali Yuga. But Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya he didn't take it very seriously. So then Gopinath Acharya said a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, which was uttered by Lord Brahma after he had been fingered by Krishna, kidnapping the cowherd boys and calves, and he was exposed. And so Lord Brahma then admitted in his prayers to Lord Krishna, Atapi te deva padam bhujadvayam prasadu leshanu grihita evahi janasi tatvam bhagavan mahimno. This is his prayer that, that you can go on trying to figure out Krishna for many, many lifetimes, but you won't be successful by dint of your work, your speculation, etc. But if you get prashaduleshan means if you get just a drop of his mercy, the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he says, of the two lotus feet, there's two lotus feet of Krishna. Then you can understand. So the same idea that by practicing devotional service, it's not just the devotional service itself only, but that is to get the mercy and the blessing of the pleasure of Lord Krishna. And that's reiterated in the Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna says to Arjuna in the 10th chapter, Tesam satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give them the understanding. That's the mercy. I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. Very interesting. And the example that we sometimes hear of the sparrow on the shore of the ocean, the example.
Yeah.
The ocean wave came, and apparently the mother bird had deposited her eggs on the seashore, and a big wave came and took those eggs, and she was angry about that. She was worried about that, so she wanted to get those eggs back. So she became determined, what? To dry up the ocean. And how's she going to do that? Go into the ocean and take beakfuls of water and bring it back on land and drop them. And that way, she would have to do that for millions and millions of years, even if it were possible. So that was her endeavor. Then what happened was, the story, that Garuda, seeing the efforts and predicament of this his sister bird, he came, took up the job, and said, "Come on, ocean, you give back those eggs." And so the ocean, fearing retribution from Garuda, the ocean delivered the eggs to the sister bird. So that's something like our progress in devotional service. What really can we do for Krishna? We're doing our efforts according to the directions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his empowered representative, the spiritual master. But ultimately, in order to become free from the ocean of material desires and material involvement, bhava sindhu, it'll require the mercy of the Lord. Tesam satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam. So here in this verse, it's very interestingly divided between those who are liberated by the favor of the Lord, which I'm including both the kripa siddhas that we say are liberated just by mercy, and the sadhan siddhas, those who are liberated through a rigorous practice of vaidhi bhakti. Both require the mercy of the Lord to reach liberation. So I was wondering about that. I'm not sure I ever heard that directly other than trying to understand this purport. So what did I do? I called up my godbrother, Balabhadra Prabhu in Atlanta. I asked him, "Here's my thinking. What do you think?" And he said, "Oh, yes, that's that is the correct understanding." Okay, so I'm not just out on a limb here. That the Kripa Siddhas and the Sadhan Siddhas are both both Kripa Siddhas because they require both the mercy of the Lord. Comments about that?
Everything is operating by the mercy of the Lord, ultimately.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Lord Brahma says he's the cause of all causes anyway. Yeah, that is.
And specifically, as we're performing our devotional service, as we do our devotional service daily, then we're waiting for the mercy. We're hoping for the mercy of the Lord. Thus, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was approached Lord Chaitanya, and he said, I want to change this verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. You know this?
No.
Yeah, so Sarvabhauma wanted to change Srimad Bhagavatam because in one verse, there's a verse, the English translation is a person who continues to suffer or endure the material miseries, thinking that they're the result of his past misdeeds, but continues to offer obeisances to the Lord within the core of his heart, continues to engage in devotional service, that person is considered eligible for the mercy of the Lord and liberation. And the Sanskrit is mukti pade chadayabhak. Dayabhak means that he can, dayabhak means they can inherit, just like a son or daughter can inherit the property of the parent at the time of death. So similarly, the person who has this attitude in the execution of their devotional service, they're eligible to inherit the liberation, mukti pade chadayabhak. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, though, he said, because before he was especially an impersonalist, he didn't like the word mukti. He said, I want to make it bhakti pade chadayabhak. Bhakti pade. Because mukti, you can misunderstand to be impersonal liberation. And he just didn't like to hear impersonal liberation. That's also reiterated by Prabodhananda Saraswati. He said, Kayavalyam narakayate akasha Tridashapur Pushpayate. For a devotee, merging into the effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is like hell. Narakayate means hell. Kayavalyam narakayate. Akasha, Tridasha, Pushpayate. And and the interest in being elevated to the heavenly planets, which people are very interested in, that's like a pushpayate, Akasha Pushpa, a flower in the sky, or we would say a will-o'-the-wisp. Something it's not real. It's just a phantasmagoria. So that's what. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was lobbying with Lord Chaitanya. Let's change this verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Mukti Pade Chadaya Bhak to Bhakti Pade Chadaya Bhak. And Lord Chaitanya, you know what his response was?
No, but I'm very interested because it didn't get changed.
Yes, it didn't get changed. Lord Chaitanya, he smiled. He was appreciative of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's point of view. But he said like this, that there's liberation isn't just Sayujya Mukti, or merging with the impersonal effulgence of the Lord, but there's 5 kinds of liberation, including Salokya, Samipya, Shashti, and Sarupya. And all of those kinds of liberation are at the feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So so it's not just Sayujya Mukti or the impersonal liberation. So he said, but he appreciated his point as evidenced by his smile and chuckle about Sarvabhauma's plan, but he didn't allow it to be changed. So Salokya, Samipya, Shashti, and Sarupya are devotees sometimes accept these kinds of liberation, like Uddhava, like the associates of the Vishnudutas, but also sometimes they're rejected. Did you know that? Sometimes these types of liberation, even though you can live on the same planet, you can be a personal associate. And why is that? Because pure devotional service means there is no doing devotional service means pure devotional service means without any desire for any material benefit or even any spiritual benefit. So these kinds of liberation would be categorized as a spiritual benefit. So pure devotional service is without even a spiritual thinking of spiritual benefit. And that's epitomized in Lord Chaitanya's prayer, na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kamaye, mama janamani janamani share, bhavatad bhakti rahoituki tvaye. He's saying, I'm not going to do devotional service so I can get some money. I'm not going to chant Hare Krishna so I have some people admire me or get a lot of followers or have a, beautiful partner or a handsome partner come to my side. No, I'm doing it not for anything. Mama janamani janmanishvari bhavatad bhaktira. Even I'll stay in this material world if you want, because I just want to do a devotional service for you. That, according to the Nectar Devotion, is the sweet quality of a person who's really engaged in the service of the Lord. There's nothing more pleasurable or more happy, more blissful than being able to engage and satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as we know, that effort is possible, as mentioned by Parikshit Prabhu, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and the spiritual master. Yasya prashadat bhagavat prasado, yasya prasada nagati kutopi. By his mercy, Krishna is pleased. Without his mercy, nagati kutopi. Gati means no goal. You're wandering. No gati. Nagati means no goal. You're nowhere. You're a nowhere man. Kutopi. So this is a very interesting verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The first prior verse, can we go up there a little bit? Because Prabhupada doesn't comment on that, but you might have a question about that. I had a question about
The
that.
first,
The
the
29,
previous
yeah,
one.
29.
Oh,
No, 29. The other way.
this is 20. Yeah.
Yeah. Although his pastimes are only characteristic functions, by his causeless mercy, he performs one activity for the fallen souls. So what do you make? So there's a distinction being made between characteristic functions and the causeless mercy, he performs one activity. So what do you, any comments on that? What do you mean? What's this mean? There's a distinction there. What do you make of that?
I'm thinking that if his pastimes has only characteristic functions, that's at the spiritual level the whole time, but then he reaches out or down to fallen souls also, who are in the material consciousness, and helps them. But
Yeah.
ordinarily, everything is spiritual.
Yeah. So his basic or natural activity is engaging in his pastimes of engaging with his devotees, and his other function, that other causes mercy, that's an extra one. We see that in the activities of Lord Chaitanya. He had his internal reasons for coming and his external reasons for coming, right?
Mm.
So the internal reasons for coming were what?
That's connected with the mood of Srimati Radharani, wanting, to just bathe in, or for lack of a better word, enjoy the benefit of how Srimati Radharani loves him.
Yes, to to be able to experience more the love, the devotion of Srimati Radharani, the qualities in him as Krishna that inspire Srimati Radharani's devotion, and the happiness that she experiences when Krishna reciprocates. So that was his business. That was his main business coming as Lord Chaitanya. But at the same time, because Krishna is expert, he can do many things at once. Where you try to pat your stomach or rub your stomach and pat your head, you might have a little trouble. You can't do one or two things at the same time. It's very difficult. But he can do many things at once. So he could, at the same time, by his causeless mercy, he also came and distributed Krishna consciousness through the chanting of the holy names, and by popularizing the distribution of Krishna Prasadam to everybody in the world as much as possible, all around the world. Pritivite yacha achanagar adigram sarvatra prachar hoibe mornam. So that's our we may not be in the internal pastimes of Krishna, but by helping with the external pastimes, then by his mercy, you'll have entrance into the internal pastimes, at least soon. Mukti padecha dayabhak. That's what Lord Chaitanya explained to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya also explained like this in discussing the Atma Rama verse. Was after Lord Chaitanya defeated his discussion, his presentation about Vedanta Sutra from an impersonal point of view. Lord Chaitanya, he thoroughly defeated his impersonal understanding. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was simply shocked and surprised at the wonder of Lord Chaitanya's understanding. So then he asked him to speak on the verse Atmaramascha Munayo, Nigranta Apyarukrame, that verse, Atmarama verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. So Lord Chaitanya said, no, you please give your understanding. So the Bhattacharya did. And then Lord Chaitanya afterwards gave his understanding. And in the midst of that understanding, he described that, talking about pure devotional service, he said that pure devotional service, a devotee, even though offered these four kinds of liberation, he doesn't often doesn't accept them. Sometimes he will, but often he doesn't accept them. So he's offered them. Who is he being offered by? The Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is something. So usually, if you're thinking you're offered by here, if you're offered by somebody and you say, no, I don't want it. Like you go to somebody's house, they say, well, please let us give you some, just a little refreshment. You say, no, I don't want any. That sometimes could be considered a not very good etiquette, isn't it?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good
So,
etiquette. So Prahlad Maharaj, he was offered, so please take a boon. Please take a boon. And he said, no, I don't want to be a merchant that I'm taking. I'm doing service to you so I can get some benefit for myself. No, I don't want to be a merchant like that. But usually, if you could, the etiquette is that you have to accept what you're offered. But in this case, especially from the Supreme Lord, in this case, there's precedent that even you're offered, and nobody's offered me any of these kinds of uh, liberations, Lord Krishna or my spiritual man hasn't offered me. But I'm just saying, for the precedent is that it's okay to not take them if your main concern over anything else is just to continue to be engaged in Krishna service. These four kinds of liberation are not against devotional service, but they're not required. They're not required. In the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Kapila Muni also describes, it's very instructive. In the third canto, he describes to his mother Devahuti about the nature of devotional service, and he goes over the devotional service in the mode of ignorance, in the mode of passion, in the mode of goodness, and pure devotional service. I don't know if you've read that very instructive part of Srimad Bhagavatam. So he describes devotional service in the mode of goodness. And do you happen to know what that devotional service in the mode of goodness is? Anybody? It says devotional service in the mode of goodness is when you do devotional service with the idea to free yourself from past sinful reactions. So, or that's a kind of liberation, right? So to do devotional service for some kind of liberation, that's devotional service in the mode of goodness. And Srila Prabhupada comments there that doing devotional service for any other reason other than the satisfaction of Krishna is tainted. It's not pure devotional service. And he points out, like the sages of Naimisharanya, they asked, he said, you tell us what is the best occupation to do so that that Sangsiddhir Haritoshanam, so that if we do that, that Krishna will be satisfied. Not that we'll be freed from the reactions of our past activities, but just so Krishna will be satisfied. And that is the highest dharma. So that's the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya. Can we do that? Well, we have to practice that. Usually we get deviated from other things. Just like nowadays, you're in the Christmas season, isn't it?
Yeah.
And things have gotten, even though it has some religious beginning, things have gotten way off kilter, isn't it? Because perhaps people lost the goal, the understanding of what the goal is, and we go some other direction. So devotees, we have to remember. It's a good idea to remember and remind ourselves always to what the goal of our activities are, to please Krishna, and not just to please Krishna, but also if we can get his mercy pray to his mercy, pray to the spiritual master for his mercy, to be able to engage continually in devotional service with being able to please Krishna. So we chant Sri Guru Charana Padma, Kevala Bhakti Sadma, etc. for that purpose. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, dear devotees, also. Thank you, Prabhu, for giving such a wonderful class, and thank you, devotees, for joining in on the discussion. If you have any questions now or other realizations you'd like to share, please unmute yourself and do that now. And while you're thinking about it, because we've talked about a number of things now, mercy, and then also effort by impersonalists and so on. As you're talking, I was thinking about the 9 processes of devotional service, the 9 processes of devotional service. And what I would like you to do is just, for the sake of people who are also new, we hear about sadhana or sadhana. Can you talk about what sadhana entails, exactly what it is, and what may be just our own effort at trying to, help with devotion service? What sadhana actually is.
Yeah, sure. Well, I can cite from the Nectar Devotion, there's the activities of devotional service. There's, as you pointed out, there's 9 kinds of bhakti, Navavidha bhakti. Hearing and chanting are the beginning stages, the foundational practices of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, and not just about anything, but about Krishna, hearing and chanting about Krishna, the foundation. And then, as a result of hearing and chanting, there's smaranam. We tend to remembering Krishna. That's also considered meditation. Then there's others, prayers, praying, worshiping the lotus feet, carrying out orders, doing puja or archana, of worshiping the Lord in his deity form, by either direct worship, by doing arati, offering food, bhoga, then making friends with the Lord and offering everything to the Lord. 9 kinds. So of those 9 kinds, that they've been broken down in Nectar Devotion into 64 specific aspects of those 9 kinds. Do you follow? So those 9 have been broken down further. And under the order of the spiritual master, one engages in sadhana bhakti. And so in ISKCON, all that sadhana bhakti is the first and foremost aspect of sadhana bhakti is hearing and chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So those 64, that's a lot of stuff to try to get, to try to remember. But of those 64, there's 5 that have been singled out by Lord Chaitanya and by Rupa Goswami as especially important aspects of sadhana bhakti that we can do as many days as possible, ideally every day. So what were those 5? The 5? One is to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yeah. Another one is hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, or because Chaitanya Charitamrita is none different than Srimad Bhagavatam. So doing those 2, those are really, really very, very important aspects of devotional service. Then the other 3.
Living in a what you call it, more the goodness place. I just trying to
Living in a holy place,
word.
not just
Holy
Holy
place.
place, holy place.
not just the holy, but living in a holy place like a temple.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people say, well, wait, go. So we have to move into the temple? Well, no. You make the other aspect of it is make your home the temple. You make your home a temple. Everybody can have either you can have pictures of Krishna and the spiritual master, or deities of Krishna or deities of the spiritual master, and do some regular active devotional worship that way. So living in a holy place. Then what's another one?
Bhagavad
worship.
Shravan.
We said Bhagavat. We said Bhagavat. What's that?
Deity
Bhagavad
worship.
Shravan. Sorry, Mataji, go ahead.
I'm sorry, dear Krishna. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Prabhu. Go ahead.
No, Mataji said deity worship, and I said Bhagavad Shravan.
Yeah, Bhagavat Shravan. We said, yeah, hearing, chanting Hare Krishna, Bhagavat Shravan, hearing, yeah, worshiping the deity. Yes, yes. And so those go together with if you're not living in a temple, worshiping the deity. And the last one is
Sadhu Sangha.
Sadhu
service.
yes.
Yeah, sadhu sangha, or
Yeah.
sometimes it's described sadhu sangha, association with devotees, because devotees are always talking about Krishna and like that. And sometimes it's also called service. Sometimes it said service to devotees. Serve, and that, of course, the best devotee to serve is a pure devotee or the spiritual master who's giving a Krishna consciousness. Therefore, the verses there, Bhagavad Gita, Tadviti pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. The service to the devotee, spiritual master, is cleanses the heart. It brings one to elevation in Krishna consciousness. So those 5 things are there. And there's ancillary things like staying clean, bathing every day, at least, ideally at least twice a day. Sometimes the Brahmins would do it 3 times a day. Offering, and part of the food, part of offering worship to the deity is to offer all your food to the deity, to Krishna. That's so that becomes prasadam. And these are the basic practices of sadhana bhakti. So here we're doing the Bhagavat part here, the Krishna Katha part. It's very nice. You organize it here every day except the weekends, I know, but it's very beneficial for us to be able to participate in this and hear and chant about Krishna this way. It reminds us of our purpose in life. Is that okay?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Krishna,
Prabhu, your hand is still up.
yeah.
So.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Just a quick question, Prabhu. Thank you for such a beautiful class. So you also mentioned about the Kripa Siddha and Sadhana Siddh. So when we are trying to perform our sadhana or devotional services, how to accept our so-called successes and failures in the devotional life?
What is our success? What is our success?
Yeah, we think that, oh, I did it, so
Yeah. So I mean,
or I failed, something like that. So
yeah, of course, from Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, don't be thinking that, don't consider yourself the cause of the result of your activities, nor should you be attached to inactivity. So sometimes Srila Prabhupada used to give the example of his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, would be pleased even if the person would just sell one piece of transcendental literature. We want to sell many, but even if you would distribute one piece of literature, so the focus is whatever the result is. We want to be happy that we can continue to endeavor to please Krishna. The result will be up to Krishna, but our focus is to continue to endeavor, even if we're not successful on a mundane level. Doesn't matter. We'll continue to do such even if we don't see an immediate apparent response. That's a very important point of Krishna consciousness, because in the world we're always thinking we want to get some result immediately. We want to see some result. So we chant Hare Krishna. After a couple of days, we're not in great ecstasy. Okay, well, let's try something else. That doesn't work. But like that verse I quoted, that we continue to engage in devotional service and offering our respects to the Lord within the core of our heart. Certainly, with that attitude, with the attitude, Krishna will be pleased. Today, tomorrow, we don't know. There's a nice pastime that Lord Chaitanya had with a devotee. I believe it was Mukunda, because Mukunda was associating with Mayavadis, impersonalists. And Lord Chaitanya, he didn't like his devotees associating thickly with Mayavadis, impersonalists. He said, Mayavadi bhashi shunede sadhava hoyanash. Everything by hearing the interpretations or the understanding of the Mayavadis, all your spiritual life will be ruined. So he told Mukunda, yeah, you can't come to my association. So Mukunda heard it. He was very unhappy. But then he asked somebody, can you tell when possible in the future? Lord Chaitanya, not in 1,000 births, something like that. So Mukunda began dancing in ecstasy. He said, oh, okay. So at some point I'll get Lord Chaitanya's association again. So he was on that path of, we may not get immediate results. We may get the result we want, but at some point, yes, I will get Lord Chaitanya's mercy again. I don't know if that's any help. What do you think?
No, that's wonderful, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Any final questions or realizations the boys like to share? If not, then thank you, Prabhu, for coming on to give such a wonderful class, and the the discussions that followed right in between the classes and all the way up to the very end. Thank you very much, and thank you, devotees, for coming on. You make this program work. Jai, so have a
Yes.
nice, wonderful Krishna conscious weekend is coming up. Hare Krishna. Vanchakapaturu
Pachakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha
Vasudevaya
patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Om.
Shirupad ki jai. Thank you again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. God, Shri Prabhupada.